What's up, guys? It's What Geek, coming to you again with another episode of Path of Exile. Tonight I wanted to cover um, skill gems and support gems, and to do that you need to be aware of something that I didn't want to cover immediately or this early because it gets a little complicated, and that's items. Items make a huge difference in the game, obviously. They have links, as you can see, so my bow has a 5 socket 5 link. So this is a bow that has 5 sockets, and all 5 of those sockets are linked together. This is a pair of gloves with four sockets and 4 links, and so on and so forth. So these are important because these are how your skills are affected in the game. So ideally, the way that I've got my bow set up is I have Eye Shot, which is the skill itself, and then I have a bunch of support gems: faster attacks, lesser melt, multiple projectiles, Ice Bite, life gain on hit, that kind of thing. So basically, all of these support gems influence the way my main skill gem works, and you can see that better in the tooltip here, which is this is the Ice Shot itself and how much damage that I'm doing. So you can see it's 14 to 360 lightning damage, etc, etc, etc. All that is the effects of the support gems on my Ice Shot skill gem. And to put that in better perspective, um, I have Chrome, which is an awesome tool for you to show you these various skill gems and support gems. So I can't go through all these because there's 5 million of them, but as you can see, these are all skill gems, and they all do different things depending on which one you pick up and what you put on it. So some of these show up as support, like added fire damage support and stuff like this, but the majority of these are all skill gems. So charge dash, clarity, cold snap, contagion. There's a whole elemental hit. These are all skill gems, and they all do something. So like flame totem summons a totem that fires a stream of flame at nearby enemies. Flicker strike teleports the character to a nearby monster and attacks it with melee weapon. Freeze mine lays a remote mine that you can detonate to freeze all enemies in the area, etc, etc. So the way that this works in Path of Exile is a little complicated, and it's completely different than anything you've probably ever played. Basically, you get an item, such as a bow or something, that has a socket in it. And it doesn't have to be linked, it doesn't have to be multiple sockets, it can just be one. Like I can put a skill gem in this ring right here, and it will give me access to that skill, so I can use it to attack things and to do damage and etc. Where the multiple sockets and the multiple links come in is if you want to attach the support stuff to that skill. So let me see, to better put that in perspective for you, these are all support stuff. So let's say added fire damage. Let's just go with added fire damage. If I come over here and I find Flame Blast, then up at the top of Flame Blast, I can't point to it, but right under where it says the name Flame Blast on this pop-up, you'll see it says Spell, AoE, Fire, and Channeling. So those are all of the words that affect this skill. And what I mean by that is if I come back over to support and I look at fire, I can see it's fire and support. So as long as the words line up, then this will impact that skill, as long as they're linked together. Now that goes a step further when you talk about the passive tree. The passive tree, which I want to very briefly touch on because there's a ton of stuff in this tree. It's a vast web of 1,325 skills. And skills isn't a really good word for that. These are all basically passives. They don't actually give you the ability to do something. They impact the skills that you use. So like 16% spell damage, 4% increased cast speed, 20 intelligence. All of these do something along those lines. 100% critical or global critical strike chance if summoned a totem recently. 30% totem damage. 30% of damage is taken from mana before life. That kind of thing. So if you read more into these, you can see these words kind of line up. Like this is 25% increased fire damage. So if I worked my way over here and picked this up, then it's going to impact everything that says fire, roughly. I don't know that that's exactly true because I don't think that that's actually going to affect this. I don't think you're going to get an extra 25% to this support. This support is going to support, it's going to add 25 to 44%. Yeah, 25 to 44% to whatever fire ability you're using. Flame Blast, Flame Totem, whatever. As long as it says fire on the top of it up there, then all of these things that affect fire are going to affect that skill. Now that makes sense when it comes to fire, but when you talk about things like AoE or channeling, that's where things start to get a little sketchy, because some of these support skills will affect AoE, and some of them will affect channeling, and some of them will affect, you know, various other words or terms that are on these skill gems, like AoE, duration. Duration is one. Projectile, trap. What else do we have? Cold, mine. Mine is another one. Spell is another one. So these, like freeze mine, can be impacted by a lot of different sources in the passive tree, because you could get all of the nodes that say mine, you could get all the nodes that say AoE, duration, spell, and cold. And that's going to increase the damage or the efficiency in some manner of this gem by a lot, depending on what you pick up. And that's, I'm talking about on the passive skill tree, to be clear. So if I came through this tree and I picked up everything that I saw that gave me pluses to mine, cold, I don't know what else was in there. AoE, let's go look. Freeze mine. Mine, spell, AoE, duration, cold. So if I came through here in this tree and I picked up everything that would give me a bonus to those terms, then all of that stuff is going to translate back into this freeze mine. And it's going to give it more and more and more damage, or more cast speed, or more whatever, the further that I go. And that's also impacted again by the support gems. So if I come over here and I find something that's added cold damage, that's going to give me a little bit more cold damage to that spell. Or faster casting is one of these. I don't know where it's, I think it's blue. Let's see, faster casting is going to make me be able to cast that more because it's a spell. Again, if I go back to it, freeze mine is a spell. So sometimes they don't line up perfectly, but because I know that this is a spell, it uses my cast time and not my attack time. So faster casting is going to impact that. It's going to make me be able to throw mines out faster. The same thing is true for something like Minefield. Because it says mine on it, I can put this on the mine skill and it's going to impact that. Initially because it supports mine skills, but also because any gems that I get or any passives that I get in here that say mine on them are going to impact both Minefield support and freeze mine, because both of them say mine. The same thing is true for all of these. Ice Crash, Ice Nova, all of these things all have words, and all of those words translate into both support skills, support gems, and the passive tree. So when you combine all of those things together, you get ridiculous effects like what I have on my Ice Shot. There's a lot of things going into this. There's lesser multiple projectiles, which gives me 3 shots instead, or 2. I get 2 additional shots, so I get 3 total instead of just 1. And faster attacks makes me attack faster, clearly. Ice Shot's the main ability. Life gain on hit means that I get 34 life for every enemy that I hit. So if I shoot into a group of, 20 people, then I'm going to have 34 times 20 life coming back to me. Ice Spot support again, affects ice. It's cold and it's a support, so it plays into the cold that I have on my ice shot. So anything that I get that impacts cold in my passive tree, which I believe is P, yeah. Anything that I get in here that impacts cold is going to play into both of those gems, which I don't think I've actually got anything in here yet. Yes, I do. They're down here. So 24% increased cold damage, increased cold damage, increased cold damage. 20% physical damage converted to cold damage. So what that does is initially you get these projectile damage. No, you get physical damage somewhere. I may not actually pick it, or I may not have picked it up. Yeah, 16% increased attack physical damage. So when you shoot something, it does both physical and cold or whatever. So initially it's going to do physical damage because that's just what it does. You know, depending on what it is. If you're shooting fireballs, it's probably not going to do physical damage. But shooting arrows or attacking with swords or stuff like that, it's going to do physical damage. So it takes away from your physical damage and adds that into your cold damage pool, you know, for what I'm talking about right now. And what that does is it gives that damage a chance to be impacted by all of the cold things that you do, or the cold passives or the cold support. So basically you're increasing your cold damage because you're focusing on cold damage. And that means that all of the focus that you're putting into cold damage is going to be even more amplified because you're taking some of the initial physical damage and putting it into cold damage, if that makes any sense at all. And as you can see, this is my skill, my ice shot skill. So it's got a lot of different things going on. A lot. I get life gained on kill. I get mana gained on kill. I actually have a chance to ignite. Chance to freeze, number of arrows to fire, number of targets to pierce with arrows, so I can actually pierce through 5 targets before my arrow stops traveling. I get fire elemental penetration so that it mitigates some of their resistance. I got an accuracy rating, attack speed modifier. All these things all tie back into the skill, and that skill, a lot of this stuff is coming in because of the passive tree and because of the skill, the support gems that I have tied to Ice Shot. So it's quite a bit to wrap your head around, but it's really not that difficult, because if you look at the different things, let's see, Siege Ballista. So this is totem, attack, duration, and bow. So I have things tied to this which actually don't make sense now that I look at it, because I don't think that Pierce is going to affect the Ballista. It may, because it doesn't say projectile. It may, and I'm not sure. And actually most of these say projectile. It's an attack though, so I do get, my Ballista itself gets faster attacks. I don't get faster attacks summoning this, I don't believe. But as you can see, I've added cold damage to the Siege Ballista, and the Siege Ballista doesn't say cold in it. So I'm adding more cold damage to that, and if you look down here, it'll say 874 to 741 cold damage. That cold damage would not be that high if I didn't have these cold support gem or passives, these cold passives, because this is increasing the amount of cold damage based on that cold damage support being tied to the Siege Ballista. So again, it's a lot to get your head around, but the long and short of it is, if these words match up, then you're probably doing okay for the most part. Faster attacks ties into attack on Ice Shot. Projectile ties into bow, I believe. That's really weird. I've never noticed that before. But I know that lesser multiple projectiles impacts Ice Shot because I'm shooting projectiles out of my bow. It just makes sense. So sometimes the words don't exactly line up, but for the most part, you can rely on those words. Like I know cold is going to tie back into the cold on Ice Shot. the attack on life gain on hit is going to tie back into the attack on eye shot, and you know, etc., etc. So that's the long and short of the skills and the support gems, and just to give you guys an understanding of what you're dealing with these passives. And again, I don't want to get too much into these right now. This is the passive tree. I can't zoom all the way out. I'm gonna start up here. So as you can see, like, there are an absolute shit ton of passives that you can tie into your character, and they all do different things. Like, there's stuff up here for minions. Like, your minions will explode with this one if they get too low in life. You can have enemies can have one additional curse, so you can cast 2 different curses and the enemies will carry both. Fire damage, lightning damage, cold damage. This is wand support. This will help you if you use wands. This will give you more attack speed if you're dual wielding, which all ties back into wands because you can dual wield wands. Flask effect duration. I mean, we can keep going on down the list. There's just an absolute ton of stuff that you can do in here, and all of it in some form or another ties back into a skill or multiple skills. So normally what you do when you're building your character is you pick some skill, and again, there's a lot of skills, so you can pick just one, or you can pick a couple that make sense together, like lightning tendrils and lightning traps or lightning strikes or whatever, and you go into the passive tree right here, and say you started as a witch, and because there's a lot of lightning stuff up here and there's a lot of spell damage, blah blah blah, so you would pick up everything that you would choose that would affect the skill that you're going to use. So if I was going to use lightning trap is a spell, so let's just say that's what I'm gonna build my character. I'm gonna base it on lightning trap. So I would get this as soon as possible, which I won't be able to get it until level 12 because it says right there requires level 12. I would pick up some stuff over here like faster casting, because I know lightning trap is a spell, so I would get, I'd be able to throw them out faster. I know there's added lightning damage. I would throw that on there if I could. There's a couple of different things on here that I would throw onto that. And then in my passive tree, I would work my way up here and get as much lightning damage, as much spell damage, as much cast speed. There's elemental damage. I'd get as much of that because that ties back into it. There's another lightning damage. I would pick up all of these things that make sense to that skill, or to the set of skills that you want to use, because some of these will actually be hybrids. They're kind of few and far between with it. Like melding is life and energy shield, and I know there's one somewhere over here. I can't find it off the top of my head, and I'm not going to dig for it, but I know there are skills that are passive nodes in this that give you, maybe both fire and cold damage, or fire and lightning damage, or whatever. They'll combine 2 things together, so it's entirely feasible that you can, do multiple things with one character. So that's the long and short of skills, a little bit of the passive tree, a little bit of support gems, and a little bit of items, because all of these things tie back into each other. I don't think that there's much more that I wanted to cover in this video. I just wanted to basically give you a head first dive into these skills and all of the different things that you can do with them. I can't go through all of these. I mean, I could, but you're not going to watch all that. So what I'll do is I'll put this link in the video. I'll put a link to all of these tabs that I have open, except maybe this one because that's just a stupid picture. The passive tree, the skill gems, blah blah blah. I'll put all of that in the description of this video. If you want to see it, if you want to read about it, then feel free. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. I'm trying to do one each weekend, but I don't know. With the holidays coming up, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do one every weekend, but I'm going to try my best to get you guys one. If you have any other questions or you know, anything that you would like to know about this. I understand quite a bit of it. I don't understand all of it. Like, I'm not really sure how this Vol stuff works yet. I'm pretty sure that you have to kill things to get souls before you can cast these spells, but they're much more powerful than they would be otherwise. I think that's how that works. And people have done crazy stuff with this, and there's a lot of different crazy combinations that you can do. But yeah, just let me know, leave me a comment, like and subscribe if you like the videos. I'll be dropping more of them, and I hope you guys are having a good weekend.